on a viciously hot day back in June. So yeah, well done to that referee. Jackson Hastings got a mention from more than one person actually in this. For obviously he's kind of, as a Super League player, shown a new way off the field of engaging with the community, engaging with the fans, not just fans of his own side. So worthy of a mention there. John Humphreys from the Wakefield Disability Team. Joshua McKenzie got a shout out.
I'll be pleased about that.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Well done, Joshua. Justin Holbrook for putting a massive focus back on the St Helens community game. Hopefully his successor will continue to do the good work. Yeah, I think Justin Holbrook, one thing that came across, especially when he was being interviewed at the Man of Steel Awards, where he got Coach of the Year for that award, was just how much he felt connected to the people of St Helens. So yeah, Kieran Robertson from the Brixton Bulls and the Sussex Merlins. Is this someone do you know, Kieran, Tim?
Yes, this was my nomination. Okay. So Ronnie was someone I played with. Just imagine your typical angry hooker who's a little bit smaller than he thinks his body is.
I'm imagining. I'm imagining. Oh my God, his name's gonna Phil Nadin is what
Jeff
I'm imagining.
Yeah, somewhere between Jeff Tuvey and Phil Nadin. Kind of, if you were to combine the two, somewhere around that. But he's someone I used to play with, but I have nothing but respect for him for the hours that he puts in. He's also with the Bronco Scholarship, but he's kept the Merlins brand going with the under 7s, 8s and 9s. Does a brilliant amount of work for those kids at getting them regular games, getting them up to all the festivals around the southeast. And it's some long drives in there because you can be going over to Medway in Kent, you can be up to St Albans, over to Elmbridge. Anywhere for those guys is about an hour and a half's drive. So it's a fair old job that he does, and he also coaches and plays for the Brixton Bulls as well. So he's up and down playing for them. He lives in Portslade, and he does absolute sterling work at keeping that going. And all credit to him.
Excellent stuff. A shout out for everyone, players and coaches involved in the LDRL. We got to see LDRL kind of pushed forward a bit this year. Sarah, you got to interview one of the guys behind that at the group that set that up. So that was a good feature that we ran earlier in the year. And I've had some interactions with people involved in LDRL over the season as well, and I definitely back that one up, as I do this one, because I think this one was my nomination. Lee Whitnell, who is one of our occasional visitors to the world of SLP, isn't he? He was the Warrington Wolves fan that joined us after their Challenge Cup final win. Lee, as we all know, is involved in the, oh my God, what are they called? The Newton Storm.
Newton Storm.
Junior setup there, and he's been working through his coaching badges, working really hard so that he can give those kids the best possible setup for a future in the game. The Medway Dragons, that's another one of the south of the country shout outs there. So really good coverage in this for those, really, like Tim said, and not just Kieran and those guys, but everyone who's involved in the game at that level. Down there, I think, has to put in so much. It's got to be, you're travelling a lot more to play your games than some of the guys up in the north in those community games are. So I think it definitely deserves shout out down there. Oral St James Leadership Group got a shout out too. I didn't write down the names of who said these ones, so if you recognise this, great shout out. Our coach at Heworth under 8, Sam Clark. That man has patience. I imagine anyone coaching under 8s has to have a great bunch of patience. A couple of shout outs for the people down over at the Rylands Sharks. Salford got a special mention as well to round that out. But loads of great stuff going on in the community game, and it's really nice to get to shout out some of the individuals and groups of people involved at that level. We definitely enjoy doing that. Right, let's do the SLP Player of the Year. So the final award amongst the sort of professionals, as it were. Previous winners of this award were 2014 Chris Hill, 2015 Adam Cuthbertson, 2016 Danny Houghton, 2017, Luke Gale, and 2018, John Bateman won the award. This year around, we had a split. Two of us went for a creative man, and two of us went for a big man. So me and Sarah went for Jackson Hastings, and Tim and Alan went for Luke Thompson. Was this influenced by his grand final performance, guys?
Well, it was for me, obviously.
It was, but it's also
you well
know.
Also
for his performance throughout the season, where I couldn't think of a game I'd watched him in where he hadn't had some sort of an impact. And that's when, you're thinking of player of the year, you want someone who's been doing it throughout the whole year. And I think Hastings had a brilliant effect, but I just think Thompson, he's that force as much as anything.
Yeah, Sarah, talk about a player who's done it all throughout the year. This guy didn't miss a game in Super League this season, all the way from round one to the grand final. Jackson Hastings.
Yeah, I think what he's done has been impressive. He's really been very influential for Salford, and I think, as you say, not missing a game the whole season. I hope it's not too big a loss for Salford. It's a shame that he's going to go from being so popular to everyone hating him next year, isn't it, really?
Maybe if he gets the ball for Great Britain next week rather than now, which he's not got the ball this week, people might still like him anyway. But 7 players received votes in this category, although, given that he never took to the field in 2019, the hilarious vote that was given for Carl Ablett does not count in this category. But in third place with 11% of the votes was St Helens halfback Johnny Lomax. In second place with 14% of the votes was the man that you two guys, Tim and Alan, went for, and that is Luke Thompson. But the winner, with a whopping 67% of the vote, was Salford Red Devils Man of Steel, Jackson Hastings. He can add a more prestigious award to the list of accolades for himself. I mean, me and Sarah, we're banging the majority here because the majority got it right. The only thing questionable I think about Jackson Hastings was his choice to not wear socks at the Man of Steel Awards, but every single player seemed to not wear socks.
And his haircut. His haircut is pretty questionable.
Yeah, but the socks is more questionable. But the way he played throughout the whole season, I think, I'm completely on board with Sarah. He was... he raised that team up. He carried that team on his back. He did so much and was so entertaining and gracious with it as well, I think, as well. So hugely deserved winner of the SLP Player of the Year, Jackson Hastings. But that's not the final award, guys. The biggest award of the Super League pod, of the Sloppies, of the 6th annual Sloppies, is the Dr. Bob Phillips Award for Listener of the Year. Of course, Dr. Bob Phillips saves the lives of kids with cancer. He's a fantastic human being, and he was the first ever winner of this award back in 2014. He also won it in 2015, 2016 and 2017. In 2018, there was an upset as Fatboy Rob Ordish won the award. 11 listeners received votes, so well done to Dave Cantrell, Dom Hodgson, Dr. Bob Phillips, Wally Frogmore, Josh Moole, our very own Sarah. You were on the receiving end of votes as well. Steve Mascord and Paige.
Thank you.
And Paige as well, for all getting mentions within the voting. But in third place, with 10% of the votes, is our friend from behind the Iron Curtain, the Swiss cowboy, Karsten Brumer. In second place, this race was so exciting to watch unfold, by the way. It was ebbing and flowing throughout the voting period. And I wanted to explain that to everyone, to build up the tension. But in second place, with 31% of the votes, went to newsman Tom Andrews. And that means the winner, with 33% of the votes, retaining his title and having to now update his Twitter bio, it is Fatboy Rob. So, the man sponsors the show. We hear from him almost every week. And he's wound up every one of you listeners at some point, including during and after the voting period, with people who did vote for him.
And he's probably put some hashtags in there as well.
Yeah. So well done, Rob, for retaining your title from last year, and great race between Tom and Rob this year. But congratulations on Rob for winning out. Right, we're now going to move on to do our quick recap of every side's Super League season this year.
So now it's time for the season review, and we're going to start at the foot of the Super League table with what I feel is everyone's favourite second team throughout the year, the plucky underdogs that everybody's been willing on to success. It was the London Broncos, who came up short right down at the last game of the season, finishing in 12th place. Now, when we added up everybody's predictions from the beginning of the year, we got your fans' prediction of 12th. So they were correct. Alan, you had them in 12th. Mark, you had them finishing 12th. Sarah, also 12th. And me, the plucky optimist, goes for 11th.
This is why you've got them, to try and talk your way around that.
Exactly. Well, look, if you're going to go down, going down swinging is the best way. And fair play to the Broncos. They played attacking rugby. They scored some of the best tries, I think, through the whole league. You look at some of the various wins they took off. The teams that they beat. Beating Leeds twice away at Headingley, twice in Catalan, and defeating St Helens at home and Wigan at home and Wakefield. Well, but it just wasn't enough to get them there. And unfortunately, some of their defence holding in games did prove to be their undoing. And definitely, though, if you were a London fan and you'd watch that, you'd be entertained and you'd be quite proud of the performance everyone had put in. I mean, Danny Ward, as I said when we were talking about the coaching, absolutely fantastic coach, really driven some great performances out of that squad. And one of the best things for London, I think, is that the amount of homegrown players they've got in and around that squad and coming through into that group. And as they look to rebuild in the Championship, the fact they'll still have a nucleus of London-born and raised players is going to be really key for them, and something that they're going to be able to develop on and build on as they make a challenge to come back into the Super League for the following year. So they had their own awards night where they nominated their Man of Steel, being Eddie Batty, the sandwich smasher himself, and who can argue with that
Gift
one?
Of the year.
I think by far and away, I'm going to go as far as Gift of the Super League era, but narrowly beating Chris Sandow smashing some pies.
Gaff of the year.
The chairman's player of the yeah. Where are they now? Chairman's player of the year was Kieran Dixon. Players player Luke Yates, the tackling machine. Someone who was quite unheralded, a signing just to sort of make up the numbers, and everyone thought was just going to be a bench forward for them really. But it turned out to be key, cornerstone, and just doing all that work. And their young player of the year, and absolute standout player in Robert Butler, done fantastically well. Set to stick with them, which is going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if he stays, if anyone does decide to come calling. I wouldn't be surprised if a few injuries happened to a forward pack, and it's someone you'd be looking at, plucking out. But fair play to him as he stayed so far, and they seem to have recruited well for next year. So I think it's quite optimistic for London in general, and London Rugby League as a whole ecosystem. I think is in better health than perhaps you thought it might be. And we did have 3 fan views on this one. So Alan, if you'd like to start us off.
Yeah. So Paul Campbell says, we were written off from the start, but with some of the performance we had this season, we needed a bit of luck. One of our worst performances, but when we needed our best final game of the season. So proud of the effort the Broncos put in. It proves how entertaining we were. The fact that so many supporters were disappointed we were relegated. To be honest, I can't see Super League relegation battle being that exciting again. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, who knows? And Sarah, another Paul got in touch as well.
Yeah, Paul Chamberlain said, clearly far better than expected, even if a little sad at the final outcome. However, the Wolfpack promotion and the loss of half the squad would always make season 2 even harder.